Hey everybody, it is Saturday night and I'm getting into the fish room a little late this evening, so all we're really going to have time for is a feeding video. But this is my new world tank, so it's usually some pretty good stuff with these fish in here. It's very active feeding. It doesn't take very long, but we get a lot of activity in the meantime. So let me go get my first batch of food and we'll get started with that. So today we're going to start with regular old Marine Land color enhancing flakes. This is pretty much my staple food that most of my fish get most of the time. You can see they know what's coming now. The two fish that we probably won't see in this video is my spotted tilapia, which is down at the far right end of the tank, and my high fin spotted pleco, which tends to stay in the middle or towards the right end of the tank as well. And I feed them algae wafers separately. But you never know, sometimes the tilapia does make its way down to this end of the tank. So if you're not familiar with the history of this tank, the reason I call it my New World tank is once upon a time it was my native tank. And then as I added a few more fish like the silver dollars, I added the angelfish, the big pleco in there. All of these are South American or at least Central American fish. I'm not sure where the pleco comes from. But anyway, they're all New World animals. They're not necessarily native, but they are all of the New World. And then, of course, I've always got to have at least one oddball in there. So I've got that spotted tilapia, and that is a West African fish. But I got it from one of my viewers sent me some fish years ago from Florida, and I thought it was a baby sunfish, and I threw it in the tank, and as it started to grow up, we found out otherwise. It actually turned out to be the spotted tilapia, which is invasive down in Florida. They're pretty much everywhere, and he wound up scooping one of those up. I also got a Mayan cichlid with it at the time, but the Mayan cichlid became really aggressive, so I wound up shipping that off to a friend of mine out in Ohio. And last I heard, the Mayan cichlid was still doing well. Still mean as a junkyard dog, but still doing well enough. Alright, after that first batch, I usually give them a second one. They say to feed the tank as much as they'll eat in 2 minutes or something, but I try not to overdo it. This tank's pretty heavily populated, but they do go through the food pretty quickly. It's not like any of it's getting left behind. So let me get my second round of food, which is going to be my high carry algae wafers. Now these are just regular old high carry algae wafers. I get them by the kilo. I buy them in great big bags, and then I just pour them into a container and use them as I need them. And I generally break them up. I put them back to back. If you're familiar with the wafers, they're sort of rounded on one side and flat on the other. I put the two rounded sides together, and then when you squeeze them, it just breaks it into crumbles. And rather than drop whole wafers into the tank, I drop the broken crumbles, and that way all the smaller fish can grab them and they dart away and swim around, and some of the smaller pieces make it to the bottom, and that way everybody gets a little bit. These high carry algae wafers are good stuff. All the fish love them. Even fish that aren't typically, fish you would think about. Oh, there's the pleco in the back of the tank. I don't know if he's coming out on camera or not. I can't really see the viewfinder from where I'm standing, but the pleco is in the back on the left side, sort of underneath of the power head right now. So who knows, maybe the taste of the algae wafers in the tank will get him out and about moving around. We'll get to see him for a moment. But let me run down the other end of the tank and drop some wafers in for the tilapia. Got to go out and around my waterfall to get to this end of the tank, at least while the camera's sitting there. See, a lot of the silver dollars are smart enough to know what I'm doing, and they come down this end of the tank and snatch up the algae wafers before the tilapia has a chance to get to them. But the silver dollars definitely like the vegetation. And I get a lot of people asking me about that, how I managed to have the vegetation in the tank with the silver dollars. And there goes that tilapia, the pleco. Just darted away. The way I still have plants in the tank is they are Anubias and Java, both of which are very tough plants and tend not to get eaten. It's more of the tender plants that wind up getting eaten by the silver dollars. And I do have some Java down at this end of the tank that you can clearly see chomp marks all over it. It has been chewed on, but I think it was more of the dead vegetation. Now that it's been sort of trimmed down, all of the nice bright green stuff is still there. So I really don't think they eat the Java very much, and you can see all the Anubias you're looking at. Clearly they don't eat the Anubias either. So that's how I have plants in my tank, along with the silver dollars. If you, well, you can't see it in this particular video, but if you're familiar with this tank and you know I've got that huge mass of water sprite in the middle of the tank, if you look at the root ball, it should be long, flowing, hair-like roots. You know, they should be flowing across your vision, you know, your view in the camera right now, but they don't. It's a stumpy little, you know, root ball that just kind of sits there in the middle of the tank, and that is due to the silver dollars chewing away at those tender roots. They do love their vegetation, and that's why I put so many algae wafers in the tank. The silver dollars just tear those algae wafers up, and of course the creek chubs love them, and the shiners eat them, and the angelfish goes after them, but nobody gobbles them up quite like the silver dollars and the creek chubs do. The creek chubs really gulp them down. I do occasionally throw whole wafers in the tank just to prevent the creek chubs from swallowing all of the big chunks that I put in there. So one of these days I'm going to have to get the creek chubs out. That's the two sort of larger fish. They're kind of torpedo shaped. These here are the golden shiners, and then these sort of blunt-nosed, larger torpedo-shaped ones are the creek chubs, and then these smaller minnows with the black stripe down the side. It's some type of Neotropis species. I don't know exactly what they are. I know a lot of people like to tell me that they are black-nosed dace, or eastern black-nosed dace in particular, and they may be. They may very well be, but they also may not be. I don't know for sure that they are eastern black-nosed dace. There are a lot of little Neotropis species out there that look very similar to the eastern black-nosed dace, and so I'm not exactly sure what they are. But if you want to call them dace or black-nosed dace or whatever, that's fine with me. As I've said before, it's all academic. Doesn't really matter what you call them. I just think of them as minnows. So there you go. One final note. Hang on, let me get back around my waterfall, and I'll see you back on the other side. One final note on this tank. The other day I did a water change on it, and when I was filling the tank back up, I saw 3 nearite snails on the glass. So I knew I had 2 of them still alive in here, which kind of surprised me. I didn't think I had any, and a while ago I found 2 of them in here that were still alive, and to my surprise the other day I found a 3rd one. So I actually have 3 nearite snails that are still helping me out and keeping this tank clean for me. So there you go, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that Saturday evening feeding on my new world tank. Listen to me ramble on, chat about it for a little while. So thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. You never know what you're going to get with me. Hopefully it'll be good stuff. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. And I'll see you real soon in the next one.